Hi, my name is Rev Osborne. I'm an Episcopal priest at St. John's Church in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm currently in the process of applying to become an Air Force chaplain, and in this video I'm going to cover a little bit about my denomination and my sense of call to serving as a chaplain in the Air Force. So I'm a part of the Episcopal Church, which derives from the Church of England. We are a part of the Anglican Communion, which is comprised of about 85 million people. Here in the United States, we are about 1% of the US population. We occupy a smaller part of the American Christian religious life. When people encounter our church, they're sometimes confused based on what their background is. If they are Roman Catholic, they may wonder about some of our theology because our theology is Protestant. And if they're Protestant and they attend one of our worship services, they may wonder if we're a Roman Catholic because of our liturgies and ancient ways of worshiping together. One way we're described is as being a third way, or the middle way between Roman Catholicism and Protestantism. We are the Protestant Episcopal Church, so we have combined what we like to think of as the best of Protestant theology with ancient Christian worship practices. So there are a lot of liturgies in our Book of Common Prayer, and that dictates how we worship as a community when we gather. So we have weekly Sunday morning Eucharists, we have infant baptism, we have a very sacramental focus. We take scripture seriously. That's a part of our faith. If you attend a worship service on a Sunday morning, you're typically going to hear 4 different readings from the Old Testament, the Gospels, a New Testament epistle, and a psalm. So you'll hear 4 readings. But we also have tradition and reason as 2 other components of how we navigate our faith as Episcopalians. So we take scripture very seriously, but we also consult human reason and experience along with the tradition of others who have interpreted scripture as a means of navigating our faith as a church. So while we are traditional in our worship practices, we have room for novelty and new developments theologically. This can be seen in our ordination of women to all orders of ministry in the Episcopal Church. We have the lay ministry, the lay orders, we have, and the ordained orders. And so women could be bishops on the ordination side, they could be deacons or priests. We also have marriage equality as far as our doctrine regarding marriage and same-gender couples. And we have the inclusion of LGBTQ persons in all levels of our church life. So we are traditional, we take our faith seriously, but it's our faith that drives us to be open to what God might be doing in our present day. So we have some progressive characteristics as a church as a whole. One other characteristic is that we are bound together as Episcopalians around the Book of Common Prayer and that Nicene Creed and the Apostles' Creed and the worship and doctrine of the Book of Common Prayer. But we're not very precise or exacting in all points of doctrine because coming from the Church of England, it's always been a church that's made up of very different minded people who are gathered and united together around a book of common prayer, of common worship and prayer is what unites us. So while our church as a whole is very progressive, we have members of our church who aren't so sure about women's ordination. I think that's becoming less of a trend, but for some, human sexuality issues is still a question. So there's a diversity of opinion within the church, even though as a whole we are more progressive. Now I'll talk a little bit about my call to pursue Air Force chaplaincy. A lot of that has just been relationships. This is my first place after seminary. I graduated, almost 3 years now. I've been here at the church right out of seminary. So this is my first placement. And here at St. John's, we are a couple miles away from the Air Force Base, Maxwell Air Force Base. The first lunch I had with a parishioner was at the Air Force Base. The first special event I helped here with was an Air Force family whose son had attained his Eagle Scout. So it was a celebration here at the church. I train jiu-jitsu, and a lot of my training partners are soldiers who are going through different schooling here at the Air Force Base. And one of my colleagues and fellow priests here at St. John's is a bivocational priest who teaches out on the Air Force Base. She was an officer in the Air Force and attended the academy and was part of the Presidential Honor Guard at Arlington. And it was her experience of doing over 400 military funerals that started her on the path of discerning her call to the priesthood. So having her as a colleague, she's incredibly smart and gifted and well-versed on issues of leadership and ethics. That's part of her role on the Air Force Base. And so a lot of my call has just arisen in an unexpected way through relationships in the place I'm at. I feel as an Episcopal priest, I have a lot to offer as far as chaplaincy. Part of my formation in seminary was doing 10 weeks of an intensive CPE experience at a Trauma One medical center in Erlanger Hospital, which was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And what forms me in my view of chaplaincy through that experience is that being a chaplain is you are a non-anxious presence who's witnessing people's experiences, listening, meeting them where they're at, being a reminder of the holy in the ups and a lot of the downs of life. Chaplaincy is not about the chaplain, it's about how that person can meet the needs of those to whom they're serving. So for me, I am a Christian in the Episcopal Church, but I want to serve anyone I can, especially airmen in the Air Force. I've come to understand just a little bit about some of the struggles and the unique experiences they have as service members. And I've just developed a heart to want to serve and connect with them and use the gifts and training I've received to pursue this part and season of my life as a minister. So it's a great honor, it's a great calling, and I think it's something that I feel very equipped to do. And I guess one story I'll share is one day my colleague Deanna, who works on the Air Force Base, took me to the basic chaplains course for one day. They had the head recruiter and they were just talking about the need in the chaplain body for imams or rabbis. And the one thing he said that really caught my attention was he also said, and we need Episcopal priests. And being in that room and hearing that, I had a real sense of I'm in a place where someone's expressing a need and I am someone who can meet that need and serve in that particular way. So that's a little bit about my sense of call. I've told you a little about my denomination, the Episcopal Church. Thank you for your consideration as I apply for this sacred and special calling. Thank you.